The loading bay at Harbor and Hearth always smelled like a storm that never quite arrived, the sea air threaded through concrete dust and the faint tang of leftover cleaner. Out front, the showroom glowed under warm amber lamps, soft jazz, making every dining set feel like a promise. Back here, fluorescent bulbs stuttered, exposing the scuffed walls and the truth that lived behind pretty things. Maya Bennett, 27, had worked the floor for almost a year. To customers, she was the woman with the gentle smile and sure hands, somehow able to pair an end table with a stranger's life story. To her coworkers, she was the slight figure with a beige canvas tote and a habit of vanishing right at lunch. When anyone asked, Maya would give the same small smile and say, "Just getting some air." "I'm not hungry." People learned not to pry. Some doors don't belong to you, even if you know where the handle is. Maya kept her secret closed that way. She lived in a small apartment where foil lined the window in winter. 3 months ago, she had given birth to June, and every number in her life changed. Rent formula diapers. The arithmetic marched across her back. June's father had disappeared the day the word pregnant left her mouth, leaving Maya with a brand new love and a brand new loneliness. On her first day back at work, Maya stood in front of the printed shift calendar like it was a battlefield map. No daycare would take an infant for a price she could pay. So she found a room, sub-basement, second level, down a long-forgotten staging room once used for a spring campaign 2 years back. The door was almost never opened. Dust lived there. A floor lamp flickered as if it were breathing too shallow. In that imperfect space, Maya built something that resembled home. Every noon when the brake bell chimed, she took the elevator to the lowest level with the canvas tote pressed to her ribs. The room was quiet, a moss-green velvet chair, a curtain pretending to be a window, a round rug that had memorized too many feet. Behind the curtain, tucked between fabric and brick, stood a travel bassinet, small sturdy wheels locked. Inside, June, downy hair, warm cheeks, the solemn curiosity of 3 months old. Only with the door closed did Maya exhale. She opened the tote and lifted her daughter. "Hi, Junie," she whispered. June nestled in. Maya sat unbuttoned with practiced care and brought her close. The lamp flickered, steadied. The lemons someone had left in a brass bowl on the coffee table shone absurdly bright. In that dust-sweet room, everything softened. The ache in her shoulders, the panic that lived under her breastbone. For 20 minutes, Maya got to be exactly what she was, a mother. She knew the rules. No policy would forgive this. Discovery meant losing the job, which would take the apartment and the groceries with it. But there were no good choices left, only the one that kept June fed and a roof above them. She listened always for footsteps on the hall and the quick, betraying click of a handle. She prayed each glance from a manager would slide off like light on polished wood. That day, as she pulled the door shut, she didn't notice the man who had paused at the end of the corridor. He was new, hadn't been on the roster for a week. His badge read, Noah Cole, Vendor Ops. He stopped perfectly still. A sliver of light wavered in the door jamb. From inside came the hush of a lullaby, more breath than sound. Noah didn't knock. He didn't call out. He stood for a moment, then walked on, carrying with him an unfamiliar mix of concern and respect that didn't fit into any spreadsheet he'd ever seen. Noah moved like someone who'd known warehouses and the people inside them, shoulders relaxed, eyes observant, hands certain. He stacked boxes with his legs, not his back. He noticed which pendant light would fail before the weekend. He listened the way some people breathe steadily without drawing attention to the act. What no one could have known then was how carefully he was listening now. The cannery-turned showroom sat 3 blocks from the Oregon coast bricks, warmed by a century of fog. The building kept its stories, so did its people. Maya had once planned to be a teacher. She loved the precise kindness of good questions. Life had shifted that plan out of reach, first her mother's illness, then the quiet of a father who grieved by packing boxes, then a man who kept his suitcase by the door and finally used it. There's a sliding scale between shame and stubbornness. Maya lived toward the stubborn end, not because she liked it there, but because the light was better. She could sell sofas like sonnets, pick up shifts like shells, and bend $1 until it confessed. But daycare wasn't a math problem. It was a proof with the wrong givens. So she made a room where there wasn't one and tuned her heart to the rhythm of a printed break schedule. On the third day Noah worked there, he found himself on the sub-basement level, counting return pallets. A draft led him past a door left just slightly ajar. He should have kept walking. He didn't. He saw the velvet chair, the curve of a shoulder, the small arc of a baby's foot. A sequence like that rearranges a man before his mind catches up. He looked away as if the room had changed clothes, and he'd been impolite. Then he walked on, not pitying, not prying, simply altered by what he'd witnessed, a woman making something gentle in an ungentle place. By afternoon, Maya was back on the floor, her canvas tote tucked under the counter, voice-even smile practiced. When a shard of sunlight cut across Register 3 and forced her to squint, Noah passed by, reached up and tilted the plastic blind without a word. The beam shifted. She blinked, surprised. "Thanks," she said quietly. He nodded and kept moving. Their fingers brushed for a second, just a cursor blinking between two sentences. Neither knew how to start. That night, as June slept in the thrift store crib that complained in familiar squeaks, Maya counted the day's small mercies like coins she'd found in a coat pocket. 20 quiet minutes. A lamp that mostly held a stranger's hand on a blind cord just when she needed it. In the space between fear and fatigue, one determined thought kept surfacing. Tomorrow I'll do it again. And somewhere else in the city, a man who listened more than he spoke wrote a mental note he would not forget. S2 fourth door flickering lamp. Pay attention. By his second week at Harbor and Hearth, Noah had already memorized the rhythms of the store. Every shift had its music, the chorus of carts rattling across the showroom floor, the soft percussion of tape guns sealing boxes, the low murmur of customers deciding if a chair was worth its price tag. He blended into that music well. Too well. People thought him quiet. People thought him temporary. That was exactly what he wanted. But each day, just after noon, he noticed the same movement. Maya slipping away with her canvas tote. Always precise, never hurried, never careless. He'd watch her glance at the clock, then at the hall, then disappear toward the freight elevator. When she returned, her smile was a little thinner, her shoulders a little lighter, as if she'd left part of her weight in the basement. Noah didn't follow. Not again. He already knew what lived in that locked staging room. He carried the knowledge like a fragile piece of glass in his pocket. A mother, her infant, 20 minutes of borrowed safety. He told himself it wasn't his place. He told himself she didn't need his interference. But the more he watched the floor managers stalk the aisles, Robin with her sharp jaw, clipboard in hand, eyes forever scanning for mistakes, the more his chest tightened. If anyone discovered Maya's secret, it wouldn't be kindness that followed. One Tuesday, the air in the staff lounge was thicker than usual, heavy with burned coffee and gossip. 2 employees leaned against the counter, their voices pitched just loud enough to carry. "She's always gone at lunch," one said. "You think she's meeting someone?" The other smirked. Or hiding something. Maybe helping herself to stock. You ever notice those throws go missing faster than they should? Noah froze at the doorway, hand still on the knob. He didn't like the way their words bent toward suspicion, the way Maya's absence was being reshaped into guilt. He wanted to step in to say something sharp enough to cut the talk. Instead, he let the knob go and walked away. That evening, he found himself in the security office, again small, stuffy, humming with monitors no one cared to check. He told himself he was just curious. But curiosity turned to vigilance as he clicked through the grainy footage. There she was, Maya slipping into the sub-basement room, tote close to her chest. No stolen throws, no candles tucked into her apron. Just her and the quiet urgency of a woman moving through shadows for love's sake. Noah sat back in the chair, jaw tight. Numbers and audits suddenly felt obscene. His father had once told him, if you want to know a business, don't read its reports. Watch how it treats its most vulnerable people. Downstairs, Maya lived that truth in silence, and no one knew but him. Maya herself felt the shift. That same week, as she hurried out of the staging room, she froze at the stairwell door. Voices drifted just beyond Robin's, clipped and measured, and a vendor rep's low reply. Her heart slammed against her ribs. June was safe in the bassinet, hidden behind the curtain. But if Robin chose that moment to check the hall, if she caught Maya coming out of the basement with her tote, everything would unravel. She pressed her back to the wall, breath shallow, waiting. Seconds stretched into cruel minutes. Finally, Robin's heels clicked away, fading into the clatter of the floor. Maya slipped past the corner legs, trembling smile ready for anyone who looked too closely. Later in the restroom, she stared at her reflection. Pale skin, dark circles, a bun coming undone. She braced her hands on the sink. From her pocket, she pulled a tiny sock, June's, and rubbed the soft fabric between her fingers. "I'm trying, Junie," she whispered to the empty tiles. "I promise." "Mommy's trying." But the fear never left. Every shift felt like walking a high wire, every stairwell a trap waiting to spring. And somewhere above, a man in steel-toed boots carried her secret like a weight that was no longer his to ignore. Wednesday began gray rain pressing against the tall windows of Harbor and Hearth. The store was quieter than usual, customers moving slowly under umbrellas, the air heavy with damp wool and wet shoes. Maya kept her head down at Register 3, scanning tags, bagging purchases, counting the minutes until her break. The intercom crackled overhead. "Maya Bennett, please report to the manager's office." Her hands froze mid-scan. The drawer balanced. Her shifts were always on time. Still, her stomach dropped. She walked the length of the aisle, badge swinging at her chest, every step echoing louder than it should. Inside, Robin sat stiff behind her desk, a file open in front of her. To the side stood Evie, one of the newer stylists, her arms crossed, and a strange, satisfied glint in her eyes. "Maya," Robin said, gesturing to the chair across from her. "We've received reports that you've been using the basement staging area for personal purposes." Maya's blood went cold. She opened her mouth, but Robin raised a hand. Furthermore, she continued, a few items from back inventory throws, candles, small decor have gone missing. You've been seen carrying a bag into the sub-basement multiple times. Maya's gaze flicked to Evie. Evie looked away, smiling faintly. Her throat dried. She couldn't tell them the truth. She couldn't say, "Yes, I've been there. Yes, I bring a baby because I have no one else. But I never took anything." The truth would cost her everything. I understand," she whispered. Robin folded her hands. "Until this investigation is complete, you're suspended. Unpaid." The room tilted. Maya nodded, stood on legs that shook, and placed her badge gently on the desk. By the time she reached the break room, word had spread. A few co-workers glanced up, then down, whispers chasing behind her. She packed her water bottle, her calendar, the folded blanket she sometimes sat on, into the tote. Then she walked out, head high, heart breaking. No one knew the real story. No one knew she'd just lost the only thing holding her life together. Upstairs, in a small room humming with monitors, Noah sat staring at the feeds. He'd spent hours combing the footage timestamp by timestamp. He found her Maya descending the stairs with her tote. He slowed the video frame by frame. No throws tucked under her arm. No candles slipped into her bag. Only her tired but steady walking into the shadows to keep something unseen alive. Then he saw Evie, her hand slipping an olive throw from a return cart, her figure vanishing into the stairwell. Quick, practiced, guilty. Noah copied the clips, his fingers tight on the keyboard. He opened a temporary email account, attached the files, and typed a single line: false accusation. No theft. Camera proves innocence. He didn't sign his name. He didn't need to. 2 days later, Maya's phone buzzed. Robin's voice came through, careful now, all edges sanded down. Maya, we've reviewed additional footage. It appears there was no evidence supporting the allegations. This was a misunderstanding. We'd like to apologize and welcome you back. Maya listened in silence. Then she said softly, "I appreciate the call, but I'm not sure I can come back." She ended the call, placed the phone face down, and held June a little tighter. That afternoon, when she stopped by the store to collect her things, Noah was there, leaning against the stairwell wall, clipboard tucked under his arm. He straightened when she approached, his expression unreadable. "They called you?" he asked. "Yes. Are you coming back?" She hesitated. Then, without looking at him, she asked, "Did you send the footage?" His breath caught, but he stayed silent. "That silence," Maya said quietly, "tells me everything." She looked down at her hands, voice trembling, but not angry. "Why are you always there? Why do you know more than you should? Why does it feel like you're watching over me when no one else does?" He said nothing. He didn't need to. She gave him one last glance, grateful, confused, and walked away. Noah stood alone in the hallway, the weight of his silence pressing like a stone in his chest. Friday afternoon moved slowly, rain streaking the showroom windows in thin silver lines. Maya stood at Register 3, scanning cans of soup and boxed lampshades, her body running on habit, while her thoughts drifted elsewhere. Then the television near the electronics section flickered. A commercial cut out. The logo of Harbor and Hearth Group filled the screen, bold navy and gold. Maya barely looked up until the camera shifted to a stage. Her hands froze mid-scan. At the podium stood a man in a navy suit, shoulders straight, voice steady. His hair was neatly cut, his jaw clean, his presence commanding. On the bottom of the screen, the chyron read, "Noah Cole, CEO of Harbor and Hearth Group, announces National Housing Initiative." The scanner beeped against the soup can in her hand, demanding attention she couldn't give. Her heart lurched into her throat. The man she'd thought was a warehouse vendor, the one with steel-toed boots and quiet glances, was standing on national television in a tailored suit, her Noah. The store hummed on around her. Customers chatted. Jazz played faintly from overhead speakers. But for Maya, the world blurred, sharpened only on the screen, where truth stood exposed. She whispered under her breath, "You're not who I thought you were." That evening, she lingered by her locker longer than she needed to. The tote bag hung heavy on her shoulder, June's tiny hat tucked inside. She pulled out a sheet of notebook paper, tore it carefully, and wrote, "Thank you for the blanket, the silence, the light. Thank you for letting me believe I could be strong again. But I am not the person for you. And you were never just a stranger. That is why this hurts. Goodbye, Noah." She folded it once, slid it into the frame of the basement staging room door, and left. Hours later, Noah returned to the store after closing. The halls were quiet, the showroom dark except for the ghost glow of exit signs. He descended the stairwell slowly, each step heavier than the last. The staging room door creaked open. Inside, silence. No soft gurgle of a baby, no hum of the small fan, no faint sweetness of baby lotion. The velvet chair sat empty, the blanket folded in a corner, the bassinet gone. Only the faint square of dust on the floor showed where it had once rested, and taped to the wall above that empty space was Maya's note. Noah pulled it free with careful fingers. He read it once, twice. His hands curled around the paper as if it might crumble. He stood very still, eyes burning in the dim light. He had thought silence would protect her, that kindness without confession would be enough. But secrets, even kind ones, leave scars when revealed too late. And now she was gone. The emergency room smelled of bleach and panic. Machines beeped in uneven rhythm, voices hushed and urgent behind thin curtains. Maya sat in a cracked vinyl chair, June bundled in her arms. The baby's cheeks burned red, her tiny chest rising in shallow, fevered breaths. Maya rocked her gently, whispering lullabies through a throat so tight it hurt. At the front desk, the nurse had been kind but firm. "We can admit her, but we'll need a deposit or proof of insurance." Maya had neither. No savings, no coverage, nothing but the damp blanket in her arms. She pressed her forehead against June's, whispering, "Please hold on, baby girl. Mommy will figure something out." But the words felt hollow. Her phone sat in her lap. No one to call, no one left. She leaned back against the wall and closed her eyes. "God, please," she breathed. Footsteps approached. A familiar voice, low, steady, careful, spoke above her. "I called ahead." Maya's eyes snapped open. There he was. Noah. Not in steel-toed boots. Not in a suit. Just jeans, a gray sweater, and eyes that carried something she'd never seen before. Not power, not authority, but care. Before she could speak, he stepped past her, spoke briefly with the nurse, pulled out a card, signed a form. Minutes later, a bed was ready. Maya followed in stunned silence, clutching June tighter. In the small room, she sat on the hospital cot, rocking her daughter. Her own body shook from hunger, from exhaustion, from fear. The door opened again. Noah slipped inside with a paper bag. He set it down on the bedside table and began pulling things out. Formula, a bottle of warm water, a small container of rice, porridge, chamomile tea. "You don't have to be strong by yourself today," he said quietly. "Not this time." Maya's lips parted, trembling. She took the cup of tea, hands unsteady. "I thought you left," she whispered. "I did," he admitted, his gaze fixed on June. "And it was the worst decision I've made in a long time." Hours passed. Doctors confirmed it was viral, not life-threatening. Fluids, fever reducers. Relief so sharp it made her dizzy. At last, June slept, cheeks less flushed. Maya sat slumped in the corner chair, eyes half closed, body running out of fight. Noah watched her for a long time. Then he lifted a hospital blanket and draped it gently over her shoulders. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He stayed. Through the hum of monitors, through the night, into dawn, he stayed. At some point, June stirred. Noah stepped closer, leaned over the crib. Two small fingers reached out, wrapped around his hand. Maya's eyes opened just in time to see it, her daughter holding on to him, her daughter smiling. Her throat tightened. "She never does that with strangers," she whispered. Noah looked at her, voice rough. Then maybe he said, "I'm not one anymore." Sunlight spilled through the tall windows of Noah's executive office. The city was just waking streets, still hushed. In the corner where clients expected to see polished shelves or awards, stood something no one anticipated: a crib. White wood, soft green lining. Inside only a folded blanket and a tiny knit hat. Above it, a silver plaque read, "Where the best thing I ever did began." Noah stood in front of it, hands in his pockets, expression softer than the building had ever seen. Across from him, Maya sat quietly, her hair tucked behind her ears. No makeup, no armor, just her. He pushed a slim folder across the desk. "It's yours if you want it. A coordinator role. Benefits. Flexible schedule." Maya didn't open it. "I can't take this," she said softly. "Why not?" "Because I don't want people saying I got it out of pity. That I was helped because I had a baby in a sad story." Her eyes lifted to his. "I'm not ready for that." Noah nodded slowly. Then he walked to the crib, brushing his fingers along the railing. His voice dropped. "I don't need another coordinator. I don't need another assistant. I don't need another report." He turned back to her, steady now. "I need you. And her. I need a family." Maya's breath caught. "I've spent my life building companies," he continued. "Strategies, brands, towers that reach into the clouds. But never a home." His voice trembled just barely. "You built one in a forgotten basement with nothing but a blanket and a bottle. I can't stop thinking about that." Her eyes filled. She stood slowly, and before she could speak, Noah stepped forward, cupping her hands gently in his. "I'm not asking you to prove anything," he said. "I just want the chance to be the one thing you and June can count on." Weeks passed. Seasons shifted. One golden afternoon in a quiet city park, 3 people sat on a weathered blanket beneath a sycamore tree. Maya, barefoot hair loose in the breeze, leaned back on her elbows. June Fuller, now laughing more, lay between them, kicking at the sky. Noah sat nearby, rattling a toy, pretending to be startled every time it squeaked. June laughed so hard she hiccuped. Maya smiled wide and unguarded. No shadows lived beneath her eyes anymore. The baby reached up and grabbed both their hands at once. Maya looked at Noah. He looked back, his lips parted in a disbelieving smile. Neither spoke. They didn't need to show. The little girl between them was proof enough light had found its way through the cracks. Even now, if you wander the basement hall at Harbor and Hearth, you'll find that old staging room still in use. The velvet chair replaced the lamp, steady, the curtain washed. On the door, quiet room, 10 minutes. Take them. Inside, a bowl of lemons still waits on the table, a reminder that sometimes the smallest, strangest objects carry the weight of whole lives. And if you sit long enough in the soft silence, you might feel it too. The memory of a mother who built a sanctuary in the shadows, and a man who chose to join her there until together they walked into the light.